Here comes a new challenger!
Hello there everyone, and welcome to a new video. The last video I posted was my tier list, and so I kind of want to respond to something being, why do I think there's so many good characters versus so little bad ones? And the answer is quite simple. Ultimate's balanced, pretty well balanced, but let's delve more into that. In my opinion, when it comes to Ultimate and making a tier list for it, it's always kind of polarizing, because the reality is that since there are so many good characters versus so little bad ones, unlike previous Smash games where the good ones were the polarizing ones and having a lot of bad characters was pretty normal, in Ultimate, the bad characters are the weird ones. There's so little of them that they just feel strange being there. And that's not to say that characters aren't usable in low or mid, they're definitely not. You can definitely use a character like Ganon as long as you got a pretty good secondary to cover his bad matchups, right? So when it comes to Ultimate, it's a well-balanced game, and therefore having, well, basically my tier list, which has like a bunch of top tiers and a bunch of high tiers, is pretty reasonable when you consider how many good characters there actually are and how close a lot of characters are to each other. This is to say, however, that when it comes to any tier list for any game, even the most well-balanced of fighting games, you will always find yourself having a character that will always be bad, not because they can't buff him to make him good, but because by design they'll always be bad. Let's use Little Mac as an example. The Little Mac, no matter how much they buff, at best could maybe be a high tier, but because of his lack of an air game, which is purposeful design, he can't really challenge characters who, well, are in the air all the time. And considering that all of his, well, moves are not many disjoints, some moves do have invulnerability and some have high priority, but at the end of the day he will still be losing to a lot of swordy characters because he can't really deal with their range, especially swordy characters that like to be up in the air. It's going to be harder for Mac to deal with those characters. So unfortunately, by design, some characters will always be weak no matter how hard you try buffing them. I mean, as another example, let's say, however, there are characters that are in the lower tiers that are just simply a buff or two away from really making a splash. I like to think of Duck Hunt as an example. Duck Hunt has very strong zoning, high priority projectiles, a frame 1 reversal sort of similar to Snake's grenade, only much more deadlier to Duck Hunt, but it's still there. Duck Hunt has really good setups, but the problem with Duck Hunt is that Duck Hunt can struggle to kill at times, and if Duck Hunt isn't getting, well, his moves all the time, then, you know, those setups that you've been setting up are kind of being worthless, you know what I mean? Not to mention that he doesn't really have a great kill confirm, so a lot of the times when fighting against the Duck Hunt, you'll probably live 30, 40, even 50 past what would be normal kill percent. So I feel like Duck Hunt, as an example, is a character that could be better, right? Just with a few more buffs here and there, could definitely be a character worthy of high tier, perhaps even top tier, depending on how they buff some of his moves. But let's look at the reverse effect. A character that by design could always be good, will always be good, unless they're designed to be awful. Let me give you an example. Bayonetta in Smash 4, no matter how you tried to design that character, was always going to be good. I mean, her moveset was just too much for a lot of characters to handle. She easily had the best matchup spread in the entire game. It was awful for a lot of people to deal with Bayonetta in Smash 4. So in Ultimate, they heavily nerfed her. Here's the thing, Bayonetta by design can never be a middle-of-the-road character. She can only ever be good or bad, and even though I would say that she is a baddish character due to her, well, extremely good at camping, it's one of the main reasons why I put her in high tier, but again, I highly suggest you watch that video. So when it comes to Bayonetta, yeah, she design-wise should be a strong character, but because of the backlash she had, she was obviously hard nerfed, and unfortunately, her extremely good moveset, they just had to find a way to make it bad, and ultimately it kind of killed the character very early on in Ultimate's lifespan. So when it comes to Bayonetta, like I said, good character design, just made terribly. But let's talk about a character that right now has an extremely good design and is also extremely good, and that is Min Min. Min Min as a character, in my opinion, unless you make her purposely bad, she can't be bad. I mean, let's think about this. When the game starts, when it says 3, 2, 1, go, Min Min already has advantage. She easily has the best range out of any character in the game, obviously not counting characters with projectiles, of course, but she can deal with projectiles. She has a lot of blind spots, however, because of offline, you can actually react to things. It's not that hard for Min Min to keep putting you in the corner, edgeguard you, and just completely annihilate you. Min Min as a character by design is made to be good. I mean, you can't have a character like Min Min and be bad unless you were made to be bad, and there are definitely a lot of ways you could make Min Min unplayable essentially, but she's definitely not a character similar to Bayonetta who can be just a middle of the road character. She will always be good unless Nintendo decides, yeah, she's not good anymore. So when it comes to Ultimate's game balancing, it's extremely good, and the fact that it's so good is why there are so many good characters. For once, I kind of felt bad for Isam, because Isam was always criticized for having too many high tiers or top tiers in his tier list, and so he tried his best to group them so people wouldn't be upset, but no matter what he did, people were always upset. Unfortunately, I don't back down to my critics when it comes to how I formulate my tier list, because my tier list is my opinion and I stand by it. If you are so adamant on my tier placings, then make your own tier list. If you think that you can do it better, hey, I don't care if you think you can, that's up to you, man. But as for me, I make my tier list the way I see fit, and in my opinion, when it comes to Ultimate, there are a lot of good characters, which in turn makes the bad characters stand out. It's not like the bad characters in my tier list can't make it to high tier. At best, they definitely could. You know, like Little Mac or Ganondorf or characters like DDD, they definitely could be in high tier if they got a few more buffs here and there to specific areas, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Ultimate balance, it's already good as is, and that's why I kind of don't expect many crazy buffs and nerfs in the future. At the end of the day, that's my opinion. With that, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please take care of yourselves, and as always, have an amazing rest of your day. 1,000 subs before the end of the year, I'd like to see it. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Peace.
Coming through, partner, we can do this right. You're the fire, I'm the wind tonight. Burning dread, haha, that's right.